they touch Mother Earth and begin their relationship with Mother Earth. I think we kind of forgot that, some of us. So we need to bring that back. And I am a Muskego Ininu. I don't identify as Aboriginal, Indigenous, or any of those. I am Muskego Ininu. That's where I come from. My ancestors, 500 tribes, and we all come from ancestors somewhere. And honoring them every day is a wonderful thing. And loving yourself is even more wonderful. So smile.
Thank you so much for your remarks, Elder Belinda. I would now like to welcome to the stage Nancy McQuaig, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for IGM Financial Incorporated, to speak. Nancy McQuaig is the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for IGM Financial Inc., where she is responsible for defining the operation strategy and leading the operational excellence agenda at IGM Wealth Management, and McKenzie Investments. Additionally, Nancy serves as the Chief Information Security Officer overseeing the cybersecurity strategy. Since joining IGM in 2014, Nancy has held a senior leadership role directing enterprise technology architecture, infrastructure, operations, service governance, crisis management, and the real estate portfolio. With over 35 years of experience across financial services, insurance, and gaming industries globally, Nancy currently serves as the McKenzie Investment Board and Heartland Mutual Insurance Board. Please help me with welcoming to the podium the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for IGM Financial, Nancy McQuaig.
Hello, everyone. I have to promise I'm way more fun than all that sounded. And I'm going to smile. And I want to acknowledge that following that, I did listen and learn, and what an honor. Hello, bonjour. I'd like to acknowledge that I grew up on the traditional lands of the Malahat, the home of the Wasanic, and I'm appreciative of the caretakers that gave me such an amazing place to live and grow. The energy in this room is fantastic. It comes from so many different hearts, so many different minds, so many different perspectives. And I feel so optimistic about our collective future, because that's what it is, our collective future. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today to celebrate National Indigenous History Month and to recognize all of the amazing students participating in the Imagine Canada program. I must admit, when the coordinator was lining all the youth up and they said, all the young people come this way, she did not look at me. It was a little bit shocking, but I think reminds me that in my head, I'm still your age. I'm still looking forward to a better place, a better future, and a better Canada. And I'm so excited to see the energy that you guys bring to the table and the hope that it gives me. I want to thank the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation for their stewardship and for allowing IG Wealth Management, quite honestly, and Power Corporation to be part of this amazing day, because it is our honor to participate in this. To the students, thank you for being so brave. You know, putting yourself out there, putting your head above the clouds, putting your ideas out for people to comment on is a huge thing. And you will find in your future lives that will be an amazing differentiator for you as team members and as individuals. So while I'm excited to be here, I recognize you're not here to hear from me. So I'll end by congratulating the Imagine Canada and to all of the students here, and well done on your achievements. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Now we'd like to turn it over to our keynote address today. So I would like to now invite Dustin Peltier to give his keynote address on education and reconciliation. Mr. Peltier is a chef and entrepreneur who has been cooking for over 25 years with a passion for championing local producers. Dustin grew up on a farm and remembers the days when he had salt and pepper shakers beside the garden, pulling the veggies out of the earth, brushing them on his pants, and enjoying that flavor. Heading into the city after turning 18, he has spent most of his time as a baker, a butcher, and strives to find ways to showcase his passion on the plates that he serves. Dustin created Loaf and Honey, a catering company he owns and operates, to chase his true passions. He connects people with real food in new ways, taking them back to the days where people knew where the food they were eating was coming from. Dustin still lives on the farm and gets his hands dirty working on farmers and local suppliers to create transformative menus using local ingredients. Dustin also works as the chef at the Lake Manitoba Golf Course. Along the way, he has taken on the task of carrying the tapestry cheese recipe. And I'm going to ask him to correctly pronounce that when he comes up here, which has been made in Manitoba for over 100 years. So please help me with welcoming to the podium this morning, Dustin Peltier.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's a real honor. It's pretty humbling following all of you, so thank you. Honestly, I'm a little daunting. I'm not a public speaker, depending on who you'll ask. They'll say I'm comfortable up here, but it's not really true. I'm good in small groups, and when I'm talking about food that I've made, that's my comfort zone. But I'm learning to hide my uncomfortableness and be comfortable, and it's so we'll make it through this together, and hopefully you'll laugh with me a few times and only at me a couple times. Kitchens have always been my safe space, except for maybe when I was a kid and I had to stay at the table and I couldn't leave until the liver and onions were finished. I'm pretty stubborn, so sometimes I sat there for a long time. That stubbornness paid off tenfold as I've gotten older, and I think it's a strong thing of who our culture is, stubbornness and kind of sticking through things. Now, I'd probably be the first one to done that liver and onions and gotten seconds. I can say that I've eaten some things that would make liver and onions seem like ice cream and loved it. Looking back, I've learned how much food was so prevalent of an experience, played in such an important part in everything I do now. My grandfather always had bannock on the counter when we would go for a visit. It's the same recipe I use now. He spent hours every Sunday making spaghetti and meatballs. My dad makes it now, but it's a little too spicy, so only me and him enjoy it, so works out okay for us. But I can see how these traditions that we didn't even think of as ones shaped us later on. My grandparents used to have this massive garden, and we would picking raspberries and pulling the carrots, and yeah, we barely took the dirt off. I'm not sure if the memory was true, but I swear there was a salt and pepper shaker right by that garden. I'm pretty sure they just brought it every time we came over, but we'll pretend. To this day, tomatoes are my favorite. I love all the amazing varieties and different tastes. Once tomato season is, in fact, it's on everything I do. When we moved to the country, I was 10. My parents started a big garden, and it was torture weeding those gardens. And it's interesting how I've come full circle and now have this garden of my own and feeding kind of things back. It's a big part of why I champion local producers and local farmers. Feeding from the land and the people who take care of the land and nurture it and give it back and give us the food that they grow from it is a big part of what we do. So I visit a farmer that's got like 15 tomatoes, and I just kind of sit in the field and pick tomatoes all day and just eat them. So it's a great memory. My mom always had this special family recipe that was passed down. It was a mustard recipe, and I remember thinking back that I was going to make this recipe and I was going to share it with the world, and we do that now. We have a line of mustards, so you never know kind of what your youth kind of brings you. I got 25 years in the kitchen, and my mom still makes this recipe better than I do, though, so that says a lot. I grew up without a lot of thought of what I was going to do or who I was going to be. I wasn't a great student, to say the least. I talked to a teacher from my old school who had started teaching after I had left, and she was like, "You're both infamous and famous amongst your high school." Infamous for my time there, and I guess famous for some of the things I've done now. So your world can change a lot over a lifetime, so just always keep open to what can be coming. I'll say that I was misunderstood in my youth is what we'll leave it at, and I'm probably still a little misunderstood, but I get to do some cool things, so it works out a little bit better for me now. I've always said I was lucky falling into the culinary world, but looking back, I would say it was more destined than I realized. I've always been a dreamer, but dreams were never something to reach for. They were just fun. I've usually shared my dreams and most of the time got half-heartedly laughed at or brushed aside as, well, that's cool. To be honest, I probably didn't even believe they were anything to be serious about, so I laughed along with everyone. I've changed my mentality on dreaming over the last several years. Now I say, dream so big, everyone thinks you're crazy. Dream so big that the journey to fulfill those changes change your life. Big dreams can be many things. Maybe it's being the first person in your family to go to university. Maybe it's making the sports team you never thought. Maybe it's getting the girl or boy to say yes to that first date. Maybe it's sharing your culture with the world and doing that. If you can see it in your dreams and you have the courage to put those dreams into words and share them with others, with confidence and conviction, you can create them. Maybe the dream you started off with doesn't happen, but in taking the effort and going for that dream, something else even better can come your way. Most successful people will tell you they failed more times than they succeeded. They will probably tell you their successes come from failures they pushed through and the lessons they learned and how they grew from them. Becoming a cheesemaker was never something I thought about until all of a sudden I was one. I liked cheese growing up, cheese slices, cheese whiz. I was all over that, although both would be tough to be really called cheese. Becoming a cheesemaker was a thing that happened while working towards building my dream of having my own catering company. I knew about Brother Albert and I went to go visit him. It was just as an idea to make cheese as a side thing. And we spent 3 hours with this monk. He walked down from the monastery and the sign was open at 2 and at 2:15. He slowly walked down and this little old man in no hurry to get anywhere. And we spent 3 hours and we learned his history and the history of this cheese. And it dates back to the 1700s. And we got to feel his passion. And when you hear someone's passion, it can't help but ignite you. So we just went, and having him trust me and have that faith to carry that on has been a big change in what I do. So we now am buying a biltong company with a South African style of jerky. So my culinary world is just kind of always expanding from chasing a dream. Trust me, so many people said I was crazy doing this cheese thing. I still get that to this day. People tell me to quit and move on. It's easier that way. And for sure, I think about it a lot. This has been an incredibly tough journey. I'm not saying chasing dreams is easy. In all honesty, depending on what you're aiming for, you may lose something, family things along the way. Changing your life is a big thing. It's a scary thing. When you are doing it, it seems like the toughest thing anyone could ever do. When you've done it or when you've taken enough steps, that it is an amazing process that you get to experience. So I also am learning to take the time to sit back and to look at what following this dream has given me. I've traveled. I have more trips coming up I could never even have thought about. I have gone back to school and taken university courses. That in itself is still a mind blower to me and probably anybody who knows me. Although I'm still not a good student in the classroom, I am a student of life, and it's going to be one of the, I've met so many people and I've been able to help a lot of people along the way simply by following a dream. When you get the opportunity to be around people who are doing the work they love, it does wonders for you and it gives you the energy to keep pushing through to reach for what you want. There is a saying that if you do what you love, you'll never work in a day in your life. That couldn't be farther from the truth. You will probably end up working harder and more than most people around you. The difference is you'll enjoy it and you'll get fed from it. Most of the time, you won't feel like work. It'll simply feel like rewarding, and it will lift you up and feed you in more ways than you'll really ever understand. So again, thank you for having me here. It's been an amazing opportunity to get to meet some of you, and I hope to hear some of your dreams. If not me, find anyone who will listen and share with them your dreams. In return, have them share your dreams with you, and maybe a simple thing from you could spark them to do something that changes their world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin, for those inspiring words for our Imagine a Canada youth gathered here today and attending virtually. Well, folks, it's time. We are now going to be turning our attention over to the youth who have joined us from all across Canada to share their visions of a reconciled Canada. Over the next hour or so, we will hear directly from the youth who participated in Imagine a Canada. I will now ask each youth who participated in the art and essay stream to speak for 1 to 2 minutes to introduce their submissions and tell the audience what it is, bring attention to any symbols and meanings they found in their submission, and to show their message on reconciliation. After we have heard from all of our youth speakers here today, we will also invite the project leads from the funded reconciliation projects to speak. And now, before I call our first group up, I was chatting with our youth earlier, and I know that we have some nerves in the room. I was chatting with some of you. I know we have those nervous feelings. I don't want you to think that I'm not nervous standing up here as well before you all. I've had to wipe my hands off every single time before I shake someone's hand because I've got sweaty hands, I've got shaky knees, but we're all going to get through this here together today, okay? There is so much love and the support in the room. I can just feel it from everyone supporting us here. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage E, Sydney, Aaron, Casey, and Hayden from École Saint-Joseph. These 5 youth are a part of the Leadership and Resiliency program called Do et des Années, and I may have missed that pronunciation, where they have been learning from elders and knowledge holders, and they will speak about their poem and art piece called Reconciliation. So please welcome me at the stage.
We are showing our culture. We are showing our culture and how we can strive for a better future, even though we can't change the past. Each part of our project represents different parts of our message. We use the drum as the background because it's a respected part of our culture. The drum is sacred and connects us to Creator and helps us to pray.
The beaded flowers are to show what we make and can create. It is art that people did before in clothing like moccasins, gloves, and jewelry. It represents the strength and creativity of our Indigenous women.
What? Oh. The orange shirts and the circle of connected people represent and recognize the children who were forced to go to residential school and all the residential school survivors. It also shows all the people connecting and coming together to remember the past and work towards a better future.
We believe that reconciliation is an act of remembrance and respect. It means to apologize and embrace our culture. It includes forgiveness and acceptance and a desire to do better. It shows respect for Indigenous people and culture. Reconciliation is to remember and to forgive.
Masi Cho to Miss Kristen for helping us with our art project and for telling us about the Imagine a Canada project. Masi to our teachers and principals for supporting us and letting us come to our Doadage classes. To our parents and guardians for supporting us and taking us to this event. And to the elders and knowledge holders for telling us stories and sharing culture teachings during our on the land camps and activities. Masi to the presenters who shared their stories and wisdom during the virtual youth leadership workshop. Masi to the Imagine a Canada organizers and to the Nation Center for the Truth and Reconciliation staff for this event and for bringing us here. Masi Cho.
How amazing to hear from our first group of youth today. And I know they were really nervous and they didn't want to go first, but they did great. So thank you so much, E, Sydney, Aaron, Casey, and Hayden. I would now like to welcome to the stage Najib from Sheldon Williams Collegiate to speak to his poem titled, To Imagine You Have to Remember, that centers around the settler's perspective for a united Canada. Please help me with welcoming Najib.
Thank you so much. It's so beautiful up here. I wish everybody could see it. My name is Najib, and I'm going to share my poem with you. To imagine, you have to remember. In the land of Canada, where mountains touch the sky, lies a history of pain, a past we cannot deny. But amidst the darkness, a light begins to shine, a light of truth and reconciliation. Reconciliation. Wago, Wichi, Wewin. It breaks my heart that settlers look at reconciliation as a compensation that can only be made with money. My heart cries at the thought of how shallow settlers view the idea of reconciliation. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten that reconciliation is healing? Healing from generational wounds that were caused by the catastrophic traumatic events that our forefathers inflicted on the rightful landowners of Canada. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten that reconciliation is mending, connecting, caring, and following through the process of regrouping the souls, minds, and emotions of the rightful landowners of Canada? How delusional am I to think you can remember all that when you don't even know the truth? Tapwe, the truth about what happened in residential schools. The truth about how settlers brought bisons to extinction so they could starve the lives of so they could starve the rightful landowners of Canada and bring their lives to extinction. The truth has to be embraced for reconciliation to be effective. And after reconciliation, I see Canada not as a country with many races and groups, but as a home with one big family. After reconciliation, I see love, prosperity, unity, peace. And when I imagine Canada after reconciliation, I see utopia. Thank you.
How powerful. Thank you, Najib, for your beautiful poem. I'd like to now welcome Chloe, a student from Hants East Rural High School, to speak to her collection of dream catchers named Dreaming of a United Canada and its connection to the reconciled Canada. The elements include woven sticks, varied glass, wooden beads, feathers, and gold charms.
To me, reconciliation means recognizing the past, understanding the truth, and moving forward in a positive direction. We are all dreaming of a united Canada, a Canada that is filled with mutual respect, like a dream catcher. Our goal is to have the positive energy, ideas, and dreams pass through into our society and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chloe. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Tegan and Cade from the Black Mountain Elementary School to speak to their book titled Our Guide to What We Wish Every Canadian Knew. It features the written words of 27 children's hearts and minds on the information that they want every Canadian to know about the truth and reconciliation through their own learning from knowledge keepers and building knowledge circles. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cade.
And I'm Tegan.
We are here on behalf of our class in British Columbia. We wrote a book to what we wish every Canadian knew. We have done a lot of thinking about reconciliation, but I still don't think I know everything. When I hear reconciliation, it reminds me of a more peaceful place, a peaceful relationship with the Indigenous people. I have to keep learning to continue reconciliation. It's a topic I want to learn about. We got here together. I think it's important that we all have our voices. I've brought it upon myself to not only learn in class, but outside of class. I asked my family to stop at the Kamloops Residential School when we were on a family trip. My family has supported this and are committed to learning too. They stopped and took us to the Spotted Lake, a sacred site for the Sioux. It is a special place of healing. This learning changes the way I see the land because I know more about it. Our teacher asked, "Why is this learning important to me?" My answer was, "How could it not be? What makes it so important is that it's what happened before we were all here together." I just feel it's not hard to bring it upon ourselves to learn about what's important. To me, it's a significant part of our history.
It's very important to learn new things, especially when it's a part of my culture. I didn't know I was Indigenous when I was younger. Now, I want to learn everything about my culture. This learning is very important so we don't make mistakes in the future. Indigenous people have lost so much. The creation of reserves has taken land from the Indigenous people. These mistakes have led to problems like missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, two-spirited. Indigenous women and girls are going missing at a much higher rate than other women and girls. As an Indigenous woman, it's important that people know it's not all gone. The language, the people are slowly coming back if we just give it time. It won't all be back to how it was because there will always be a huge impact, but it will be a start.
Thank you so much, Tegan and Cade. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Coesti Kwe, Blue Sky, from Pearson College, UWC, to speak to her elder-inspired acrylic painting titled MMIW, to honor the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kwaitsikwe Blue Sky. I am a Anishinaabe member of the Sandy Lake First Nation, and I'm also new channel from Ahousit. I am coming here today all the way from Vancouver, BC, and basically my inspiration for this painting was based on an elder who attended one of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls movements. And I believe this took place in Ottawa at the Parliament. And the elder told me, she said she was actually locked outside of the building and that the people inside refused to let her in. And personally, I believe this is because they knew her words were too powerful. I wanted to honor the missing and murdered Indigenous women and the girls and their thoughts and prayers. And this symbolizes the eagle, McInnes, and this means love. And love is represented by the eagle, which means every lesson has love as their foundation. And most importantly, love emphasizes inner serenity, as well as a balanced lifestyle and acceptance of all, including being gracious and that also being towards the Creator. The red handprint also symbolizes the missing and murdered Indigenous movement, representing justice for thousands of women and who have been silenced in their isolation. This symbol has found its way into my art, and the woman in the sky is just part of my painting. It is a spirit which is just watching over the girl below. So basically, also what I wrote for this essay was Truth and Reconciliation is a day on September 30th, which honors First Nation children who never returned home and the survivors of residential school. We also commemorate Orange Shirt Day as a school by raising awareness through discussions and conversations, as well as we spoke of the movement Every Child Matters while making our own orange shirts. This year, we all attended the South Island Powwow, which is located on Vancouver Island, and I got to experience this with my international classmates who got to experience my Nuu-chah Nulth ancestors' songs, dance, and prayers. as a whole community. And the reason I'm speaking about residential school is because my grandmother, my aunties and uncles, and all my great uncles and aunties, they all had to attend. They were taught to be ashamed of their language and traditions. Because of that, my mother's generation grew up away from my culture and their language, but thankfully my grandmother is now part of it, the community, and she's been an active member, and she teaches us grandchildren about the traditions that she had been doing. And it's such a good feeling to know that even though the government tried to assimilate First Nations peoples, it didn't work, and that we are still going strong and speaking our languages now and also practicing our traditions. Thank you very much, miigwech and kleko.
Thank you, Kwatisque. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Christoph from A. Blair McPherson School to speak to his painting called Walking Towards Light for a Better Canada that depicts the union of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and settlers. Welcome up here, Christoph.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christoph Podritsky. I am from Edmonton, Alberta. I attend A. Blair McPherson in Treaty 6 territories. I have Cree heritage in Saddle Lake First Nations, Alberta. My dad's heritage is Mohawk from Kanawake in Quebec. My Imagine a Canada art is titled Walking Towards Light for a Better Canada and is representing Alberta and Saskatchewan. It is mixed media. I used acrylic paint, Sharpie pen, and clip art references. My art features 4 nations of peoples, a First Nation with a Métis ribbon skirt wearer, a settler, an Inuit person in a parka, and a First Nations dancer. They are walking evenly side by side. We all need each other for this new chapter of walking towards goodness, light, and bravery, and leave behind the bad, dark, hard times. Traditional culture, language, and beliefs are important to the First Nations peoples. Everyone on Turtle Island, First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and settler nations need to walk together for reconciliation to move forward. We all belong on Turtle Island. Hi, hi.
Thank you so much, Christoph. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Dana from Juniper School to speak to her poem about the paths to reconciliation entitled Reconciliation.
Hi, my name is Doinsola Dana Oluboye. I live in Thompson, Manitoba. It is in Treaty 5 territory of the Nishawaysik Cree Nation. I want to first of all thank you all for being here, and I thank Imagine Canada for picking my submission. I'm going to read my poem. Reconciliation. What is reconciliation? Is it the mending of broken relationships? The acceptance of wrongdoing? Refusing to live in ignorance? Is there only one way, or does it come in many forms? To reconcile is to restore. It's to celebrate what they tried so hard to destroy. It's not anger, resentment, and hate, but love, coexistence, and change. It is to acknowledge the brokenness, the pain, and the suffering. Reconciliation is healing, slowly but surely. It is not to be all done by one. It is also not to be ignored. It is coming together as one to bring back the beauty that was once all around us. It's for us to have pride in all our radiance. It is to fill that void of darkness and bring back that balance. Reconciliation is different for everyone. We all have a vision. We cannot change the past. We can never be sure of the future. It is up to us now, in the present, to make sure we pass down to our descendants a nation truly worthy of pride, a reconciled Canada. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dana. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Saul from St. Agnetus School to speak to his diorama called The Handshake of Reconciliation that depicts the promises that were made by each culture to share the land.
I just want to say thank you to Imagine Canada for recognizing my project. Hi everyone, welcome to my hometown. My name is Saul. I'm in grade 6 at St. Ignatius School here in Winnipeg, and I am Latin American Indigenous through my mom and Mennonite through my dad. The diorama I created for my Imagine Canada project is called The Handshake of Reconciliation. I named it this because you can see an Indigenous Canadian person, specifically First Nation, Anishinaabe, or Cree chief, shaking the hand of a non-Indigenous person, represented as a Royal Canadian Mountie. This bridge is a powerful connection between the two cultures because they can happily share a community together with equality and friendship. On the Indigenous community side of the diorama, I made a teepee because the meaning of the walls and the poles symbolizes a trail that extends from the earth to the spirit world. And in my eyes, the spirit world is happiness across all cultures. I realized that totem poles are not really found in our parts of Canada, but I put it in because I love the design of totem poles. I carved this as a representation of a family crest or a tribe membership, because each community has something that should never be taken away from them. It is also known to act as a guard to watch over the community for protection. The fireplace is a symbol of bonding and gathering as one, community to relax, which relates back to the benefits of reconciliation, where there be peace and relaxation. And who doesn't love to relax? On the Government of Canada, or the Crown's half, I built and painted a mountain for the beautiful mountain ranges in Canada. There's also a Canadian flag to honor Canada and all the cultures with it. The river, stream, and the canoe are a message to keep going and to move ahead. The canoe also symbolizes a family or a connection. There's also a cute beaver inside of it because we couldn't find a better canoe than that. It's also a fun activity to do in Canada. Finally, the handshake. The handshake is the most important part of my piece because it truly brings out the reconciliation in my diorama. The Indigenous person is wearing a Canadian Indigenous headdress, a symbol of honor and bravery. They are usually worn by a chief, warrior, or a head of a community. This handshake represents trust, balance, respect, and equality. Across Canada, many treaties were made between the Crown and First Nations, and these were often remembered by a handshake, just like this one. Some treaties, like Treaty Number 1, were said to last as long as the sun shines, the grass grows, and the river flows. And that's what I tried to do with my project here. Every person deserves to be treated fairly because we are all treaty people. Thank you for listening. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Saul. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Carter from Riverside Education Center to speak to his black and white drawing symbolizing reconciliation titled Unity of a Pack. Carter.
My black and white drawing, titled Unity of a Pack, symbolically represents what I imagine a reconciled Canada to be. I imagine that all people are treated equally, with love and respect, regardless of age, race, religion, gender, or cultural belief, and to remember that everyone has a purpose. The wolf represents humility in the 7 sacred teachings. The most important thing to a wolf is its pack. I imagine Canada to be like a pack, with everyone understanding individual roles that play a big part in bringing Canadians together while collaborating as a team. I believe we need to seek guidance from one another and be humble. The eagle represents love and friendship in the seven sacred teachings, and in addition, the eagle feathers in my drawing represents respect and courage. They are in a circle to symbolize unity, and when you love and respect everyone, it will come back to you in some way. Thank you.
Thank you, Carter. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Katarina from Hubberside Collegiate Institute to speak to her drawing titled Reconciled Canada. It depicts a union between Indigenous people and non-Indigenous Canadians.
Hello, my name is Katerina Olinik and I'm a student of Humberside Collegiate Institute from Toronto. I came here from Ukraine and I'm been in Canada only for 2 years. And I was really excited to learn about Canadian history. For this contest, I drew an art in which I started with a realistic background to tell a story about how people make peace and get along. I added people with special patterns on their clothes to show how everyone is different but still can get together. I put a white dove and two people shaking hands to show peace and friendship. This painting was difficult to make, as is how difficult it is for people to understand each other and make peace. But I kept trying, and it shows that if you all try, we can overcome problems and learn to live together happily. For me, this painting is about how to improve relationships between the Indigenous people of Canada and everyone else. It means apologizing for past hurts, respecting each other's cultures, and working together for a future where everyone is treated fairly. It's about caring for each other, being open-minded, and breaking down the walls that separate us. In short, it's about creating a future where we all respect and celebrate how different and special we all are. Actually, the situation of the Indigenous peoples of Canada, who also suffered terrible oppressions many years ago, reminds me of my nation's current struggle for freedom and self-determination. We are under pressure from an aggressor. Our people are being oppressed and our culture, identity are being erased from the face of the earth. And we still strive to find peace and justice. So I was really happy to take part in this contest and participate in this ceremony among so many wonderful people. Thank you so much for attention.
Thank you, Katarina. I'd now like to welcome Annika from Woodcrest Public School to speak to her documentary called I Am Here Because They Survived, a daughter's conversations about residential school. The documentary presents the experiences of two residential school survivors and Annika's own reflection on her educational experience being a first generation that was not forced to attend. Please help me with welcoming Annika.
Buju, ako gijago Ktijnakas, Namendo Dem, Laxo First Nation de Bendagos, Grade A, India, Emma Woodcrest Public School, Thunder Bay, Ontario. Hello, my name is Annika Harrison. I belong to the Sturgeon clan and I am a member of the Laxo First Nation. I'm in grade 8 at Woodcrest Public School in Thunder Bay, Ontario. And I'm the first generation on my dad's side to not have gone to residential school. When my teacher assigned a Truth and Reconciliation project, I thought about my dad and his experiences at residential school and how different it was from my own school experience. It made me realize how close we still are to residential schools and their aftermath. So I wanted to bring that to a personal level with my classmates. I wanted them to hear about residential school experiences firsthand as told by survivors themselves, and let them know they are sitting next to a first-generation residential school non-attendee. So I decided to make a documentary. I interviewed my dad and my family friend who has also gone to residential school. Each spoke for over an hour about their experiences at residential school and the impact it had on them. It was hard to hear their stories. I remember feeling disbelief about what they went through, but I also remember how powerful their stories were and how honored I felt that they were sharing them with me. When it came to putting the documentary together, I found it very challenging because I'd never made a documentary before. There was so much information, it was hard to choose what to include to best reflect the experience of the survivors. I felt a deep responsibility to make sure I did their stories justice. I also hadn't realized how emotionally difficult it was going to be to listen so carefully to the traumatic stories of residential school survivors. In the documentary, the two survivors speak about their experiences at residential schools, beginning with their first days and including the hardships they faced over the years. They talk about how residential schools impacted their lives. They also talk about their healing journey and how they have tried to reclaim what was taken from them during their time at residential school. I showed my documentary to my class. My teacher told me that she cried when she watched it the first time, and she was very proud of me. She showed it to the principal, who then forwarded it to the school board. Representatives from the board came to meet with me the following week and asked if my documentary could be shared so that it can be shown in other schools and classes. This made me feel very nervous, but also very excited that my work would help inform others beyond my class. To me, reconciliation is not an end state, but a process. It is an ongoing effort to build better relationships, to support healing, and to continually work against the effects of past injustices to ensure it never happens again. It was my hope that my documentary would contribute to this by helping my peers understand what it was like to attend residential school and how people continue to be affected even now. Rather than disappearing into a history book, I want to make sure the stories of residential school survivors remain real, relevant, and meaningful to the current generation. And finally, I would like to thank my dad, who is here today, for sharing his story with me with kindness and courage. I'm here because you survived. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Annika. And I'd like to take a moment now to just give another round of applause to all the youth that participated in the art and essay streams who shared their visions of a reconciled Canada with us today. We will now be moving into the Reconciliation Project stream, where we will ask the youth leads who presented and participated to speak for 1 to 2 minutes to introduce their project, share their perspectives on reconciliation, and what they have learned during the year, to share a little bit about the progress that they've made on their projects from the beginning to now. I'd like to now welcome to the stage Claire, Melody, and Zoe from École Jules Verne, who received $1,500 grant to host monthly Indigenous food lectures with snacks. Please help me with welcoming Claire, Melody, and Zoe.
Hello, my name is Zoe Laritier, and I'm from the Cree Nation. And my great-grandmother is a survival from the residential school, sorry. Once again, we'd like to deeply honor to be among you today to continue our journey with reconciliation. First, we'd like to recognize that the Canadian Museum for Human Rights is located on the Indigenous ancestral lands of Treaty 1 territory. The Red River Valley is also the birthplace of the Métis people. We acknowledge that the water in the museum comes from the Scow Lake, and we're grateful for the Native people who take care of it. We also recognize the school, Jules Verne Secondary, Noshwayum, in Vancouver, is located on the traditional territory of the Remusqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. On this territory, we're dedicated to raising awareness about the various Indigenous cultures and histories, by implementing educational gatherings and cultural projects. These are issues that deeply concern us, and that are of great importance to us. To carry out this project, every 2 months, we're going to select 3 groups of people and classes from each grade to hand out traditional Indigenous food, instruct students about traditional plants and the reparation of Indigenous culture. We're using these funds to bring elders, Indigenous specialists, plants for the farm, and ingredients for the reconciliation of this project. We're grateful for this opportunity to continue the process of reconciliation at our school.
Hi, my name is Melody. We are committed to respecting and honoring local Indigenous communities. Therefore, we pledge to actively consult their members to select the most authentic and sustainable ingredients while supporting their local economies. We have proposed a project focused on raising awareness about cuisine because it is a topic that is too often overlooked in schools and in society in general. As we all know, cuisine is not merely a collection of foods arranged on a plate, it is primarily a carrier of significant symbolism. It serves as the invisible link between our ancestors and our descendants. It allows us to learn from ourselves, our parents, and our children. Cuisine is, in fact, a language and enables us to share traditions and moments of joy. Isn't it said that cooking is an act of love?
Hi, my name is Claire. I am Salal from the Lillooet people. And yeah, when we touch upon cuisine, an entire culture could be at risk of fading away. This is in fact one of the main consequences of colonization. It has a devastating impact on the traditions and sovereignty of Indigenous peoples. Eliminating certain culinary traditions was one of the primary means of control and domination by colonizers. By displacing them from their traditional territories, peoples lost their connection to traditional resources and their land. Furthermore, the government continuously restricted the hunting and fishing rights of Indigenous peoples, resulting in a steady decline in their ability to maintain their traditional way of life, a substantial risk of diabetes, and loss of food autonomy. After centuries of cultural destruction, it is now time to act to highlight what has been so forcefully erased. This is why it is important to recognize and understand the colonial past to move towards a healthier and more truth-bearing trajectory. Our project aims to learn from local Indigenous cultures. That is why we have decided to introduce these regular gatherings where we will have the opportunity to taste traditional dishes while discovering the history and meanings behind each flavor. It is our responsibility to acknowledge past mistakes to work for a better future. To do so, we need to continue to acknowledge Turtle Island of Indigenous culture to end the neo-colonization. Let us continue to wear our hair long and fight to end this genocide. Thank you, Miigwech Aishka. I improvised at the end.
Thank you so much, Claire, Melody, and Zoe. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Ainsley and Karma from Henderson Elementary School, who received a $1,000 grant for activities to promote learning about Indigenous culture. Students from Henderson Elementary had wagon rides throughout the day with knowledge keeper Alexis Desjardins, who talked about the lost generation of Métis and learned how to make bannock over an open fire with Elder Rolanda Chartrand. Please help me with welcoming Ainsley and Karma.
Hi, my name is Ainsley Ketchaway and I am in grade 4. I live in Dauphin, Manitoba and go to Henderson Elementary School. The project that we completed had 2 parts. I will talk about the first part. Alexis Desjardins is a Red River Métis citizen and a knowledge keeper. He made a video for our whole school to watch before he came to our school. In the video, he spoke about his life growing up and being a part of the lost generation of the Métis people. His family never openly talked about their culture and heritage. We learned the importance of land-based teachings from Alexi and his journey being an Indigenous person. Alexi came to our school with his horses and wagon. He brought our whole school on wagon rides through the side streets of Dauphin. Horses have always been a big part of his life, and he wanted to share this experience with us too. We are thankful that Alexi taught us about his journey being Métis and the importance of land-based knowledge. His teachings demonstrated the truth of his past and the benefits of reconciliation in recent years.
Hi, my name is Karma Richard Fleming and I am in grade 3. Ainsley and I are in the same class. We welcomed a knowledge keeper to our school for the second part of our project. The knowledge keeper's name is Rolanda Chartrand. Rolanda brought all the ingredients she needed to make dough and she taught our whole school how to make bannock. Each student got to roll the bannock in their hands and then wrap it around the stick so that we could cook the dough. On our school playground there were 2 fire pits where we cooked our bannock over the open flame. Being outside and learning how to cook this indigenous bread was a fun land-based learning opportunity. A lot of the students have never made or cooked bannock before, and many of them have also never cooked on an open fire before either. It was a fun experience, and Rolanda was happy to share her knowledge of bannock making with us. Learning the skills and knowledge of bannock of making bannock was a great way to share indigenous knowledge and promote reconciliation.
Thank you, Ainsley and Karma. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Drayton, Timothy, and Owen from St. Paul's High School, who received a $1,000 grant for their project to provide a collection of books by Indigenous authors to correctional institutions. They have been working with the Manitoba Library Association to deliver literary resources to prisons and have had the privilege of meeting with Kristen Werman, one of the leaders of the Joe Big George Collection, which is the Indigenous book collection within the prison systems in Manitoba. They have also had conversations with Joe Big George's partners, Joanna, and connected with Michael Pierre, the Executive Director of Indigenous Services with Manitoba Justice, about their project. Please help me in welcoming Drayton, Timothy, and Owen to the stage.
Anin, Drayton Pro Indigenous Makwani Do Dem. My spirit name is Swift Blue Jay, and I'm from Saugeen First Nations. Hello, my name is Drayton Perot, and I'm from the Bear Clan. First off, I would like to acknowledge our distinguished guests that are with us this morning, and a huge thank you for inviting us out to this beautiful event. I'm here to help introduce our group's project, which will then be followed by Timothy Clark and then Owen Taylor, who will help me elaborate more on what we do. Our group from St. Paul's High School is working towards providing Indigenous spiritual and cultural resources to Indigenous inmates. Addressing the lack of equity for Indigenous inmates, our project aims to help them overcome perhaps the largest barrier in rehabilitation, a lack of being able to find a connection with your inner self and the outer world, a prominent part of which is your cultural identity. From personal experiences, I know I've often found comfort and an escape in literary resources, especially ones that are relatable. That's what we wanted for our Indigenous relatives. Books which they can relate to or feel connected to. Literary resources about Indigenous language learning, sacred Indigenous law, reclaiming identity and belonging, overcoming addiction, and Indigenous art. To know oneself and one's root is perhaps the most important part of healing. Receiving the Imagine a Canada grant became the fuel of addressing this inequity. After the two-day Imagine a Canada conference, consultations with Indigenous elders and experts in the correctional system, and a collaboration with the Manitoba Library Association, we have gathered a list of resources which we will provide to the Joe Big George Collection and Indigenous book collections within our prisons. Now to pass it on to Tim.
Hello, my name is Timothy. I'll be talking about our part in reconciliation. Reconciliation is a journey that begins with acknowledging the deep-rooted injustices and systemic barriers faced by Indigenous peoples. By addressing these inequities, we take the first step toward healing and building a more inclusive society. Our project aims to tackle one of the most significant barriers in rehabilitation for Indigenous inmates, the lack of connection with their cultural identity. Empowering Indigenous inmates with spiritual and cultural resources fosters a sense of belonging and self-worth. When individuals connect with their roots, they can begin to heal from the trauma and dislocation caused by their incarnation and past injustices. By providing resources such as books on Indigenous language, sacred Indigenous law, and Indigenous arts, we help inmates reconnect with their heritage and inner selves. This journey of self-connection is crucial for personal growth and rehabilitation. It allows inmates to reclaim their identities, understand their histories, and find their place within their communities. This process of empowerment and self-discovery is not only vital for their own healing, but also enriches our society as a whole. When we support marginalized communities in this way, we create a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. By helping Indigenous inmates reconnect with their cultural identities, we foster an environment of harmony and love. This contributes to the broader goal of reconciliation by promoting to social justice and equity.
Hello, everyone. My name is Owen, and we want to emphasize that this project does not end with just providing books to correctional facilities once. For us at St. Paul's, this is a continued journey. Though we have plans to distribute books to one correctional facility, promoting rehabilitation is a long and windy path and of continuous growing and learning. In the future of this project, we seek to fundraise, research, analyze which resources are impactful to expand the Joe Big George collection to all correctional institutions in the province. We also have plans to establish and expand a library at the Manitoba Youth Centre, which fosters cultural connection through literature. We are so grateful for being here today and for having the opportunity to begin this project and expand it into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Drayton, Timothy, and Owen. I'd now like to welcome Katrina from A. Blair McPherson School, who received a $1,500 grant for a cooking program using First Nations ingredients with European-style cooking techniques. Edmonton-based Indigenous chef and cookbook author Shane Chartrand will be sharing his journey in teaching with the students and simple neo-traditional outdoor cooking techniques. Please help me with welcoming to the stage, Katrina.
Tansei. My name is Katrina Podrudsky. I reside in Edmonton, Alberta, and attend A. Blair McPherson, which we recognize as Treaty 6 territory. My mom and I are Cree from Saddle Lake First Nation in east central Alberta, and my stepdad is Mohawk from Kanawake in Quebec. The vision for our project is to team up with a nationally known chef, Shane Chartrand, who has heritage from Enoch Cree Nation in Alberta. Shane is the author of the Tawau Cookbook, has a restaurant named after him. He has appeared on shows like Chopped, Fridge Wars, and Red Chef Revival, and works as a keynote speaker for Indigenous rights. Shane is known for using traditional First Nations ingredients and fusing it with European-style cooking techniques. The truth of our history in Canada is important to never forget in order for reconciliation to happen. We need to bring back lost culture, language, medicines, and traditional foods to be able to understand the past, learn from our hardships, and flourish as a nation. We all belong on Turtle Island. Hi, hi.
I apologize for the squeaky steps if you hear me going off the side there, folks. Thank you so much, Katrina. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Paige and Deacon from James Fowler High School, who received a $1,000 grant for a mini conference happening at their school to celebrate the National Indigenous Peoples Day. The goal of the conference is to promote foundational knowledge about First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, history, and cultures for the students. Please help me with welcoming Paige and Deacon.
I know. Oops. Ladies and gentlemen and esteemed guests, I'm thrilled to announce an exciting project that we as a community at James Fowler High School will be embarking on next week. Our project is a series of events meticulously crafted to celebrate the National Indigenous Peoples Day on summer June 21st, 2024. While National Indigenous Peoples Day falls on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, and one with momentous significance to the First Nations across Turtle Island. We are hosting the events early due to exams falling on the actual day to ensure maximum participation and engagement. Our events will not only be a festive commemoration but also a profound learning experience for all involved. Set to take place at James Fowler High School in Calgary, Alberta during the week of June 3rd to 7th, our mini conference aims to honor and recognize the rich cultural heritage of the Indigenous people of Treaty 7. The heart and soul of this endeavor lie in the hands of the students in CASA, the Council of Aboriginal Students and Allies. Paige and I have spearheaded the organization and planning of the conference, working tirelessly to make this event a resounding success. Through a series of workshops led through Indigenous presenters from the Treaty 7 area, James Fowler students will have the opportunity to deepen their understanding and appreciation of Indigenous cultures, traditions, and histories. Moreover, we are proud to announce that our mini conference will be closely aligned with the educational calls to action, from the report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. At James Fowler High School, our current school goal is to promote foundational knowledge about First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, histories, and cultures for the benefit of all students. This project not only fulfills that goal, but also serves as a testament to our commitment to reconciliation, understanding, and respect. In closing, not really. I invite each and every one of you to join us on this remarkable journey of discovery, learning, and celebration. Together, let us honor the past, celebrate the present, and pave a way for a brighter, more inclusive future. Now, my friend and fellow CASA member, Paige, will be sharing how our project honors reconciliation.
Probably like, oh man, they're still talking. Anyways, hi, my name is Paige. I am from Calgary, and my Cree Métis parts are from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, in Treaty 6 territory. In the past few months, my friend Deacon and I, my mentor, Miss Whiteley, have all been working on a project that is quite important to us. In our school, we have students that come from near and far. Together, we make an interesting community with interesting dynamics. Many of the students at our school don't know much about the First People of Canada, and our intention is to supply them with knowledge and information about the First Nations and their history, way of life, and their teachings. Learning and the desire to know more about the past is a crucial part of reconciling. Without knowing, we cannot learn how to or attempt to rebuild the healthy and important relationships that impact us all as individuals and as a community. We cannot forget past events, and by reflecting and facing them together, we can claim parts that were once lost and move forwards together. This is what we are attempting to do at our school, in part through this Imagine a Canada project. We considered a meaningful reconciliation. We hope that together we can help not only our community, but many other communities by facing the pains that have afflicted Indigenous communities and working through them together. We all have something precious to share. Learning about the teachings of the First Nations of the Treaty 7 region and from representatives like Bruce Starlight Jr. of Tsuut'ina Nation and Darcy Turning Robe of the Siksika Nation will be a privilege and honor for our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Paige and Deacon. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Reed, Aubrey, and Eli from Gibson Elementary School, who received a $750 grant to work with the writer Lee Joseph and add Indigenous plants to their school garden. The classroom went on Talking Trees tour through their local forest at Cliff Gilker Park with knowledge keeper Candace Campo, and also participated in a TC show called Ageless Gardens on Vision TV. Please help me with welcoming Reed, Aubrey, and Eli.
Hi, I'm Reed, and we go to Gibson's Elementary School back in British Columbia. And we wanted our school garden to be connected to truth and reconciliation. So we made a garden of medicinal indigenous plants so that people could also know the medicinal uses of plants in our school garden. Indigenous ways of knowing and being have so much to teach us. Our project was to create a garden of indigenous medicinal plants. To show our commitment to reconciliation, we chose plants that have been important to Squamish peoples since time immemorial, like stinging nettle, yarrow, plantain, kinnikinnick, and wild rose. Our garden is organic. It attracts pollinators. It helps people to know the medicinal uses of plants. It helps people to learn about indigenous culture and history and to learn some words in Squamish. Snitchum. Snitchum means language. There's medicine all around us in nature. We just need to look.
We were gifted pollinated plants from the master gardeners of the Sunshine Coast. As we researched about them, we discovered many are indigenous medicinal plants. Our research told us how tall they will get, what pollinators they attract, and in which months they will bloom. We're excited to see if the nodding onion will produce onions and what those onions will taste like. Our whole class collaborated to build the garden. First, we made a new cedar fence to make our original garden bigger. We dug holes 18 inches deep and we ran into rocks, lots of rocks, one of which we called Dwayne the Rock Johnson. We measured and sawed the cedar stakes, mixed concrete, and hammered the whole thing together in one day. We think it built it faster than one professional construction worker might have been able to do it in the same amount of time. We feel amazing because we worked really, really, really hard and feel very proud of it. Upside down again. Sadly, there was a tree that got cut down behind our school. The good thing is that we were able to its stumps to create the outside of our medicinal garden. That shows you that sad things turn to good. To learn more about local medicinal plants, we went on a Talking Trees field trip to a local forest with knowledge keepers Candace Campo and Richard Mountain-Man. They taught us that pine needles are edible, sandberry sprouts are delicious, and indigenous blackberries were here long before Himalayan blackberries arrived. There's so much to learn from indigenous knowledge keepers. We have learned so much about medicinal plants, honorable harvest, indigenous culture, working together, and reciprocity. Our whole class and our teacher believe reconciliation is important, and we all know that everybody matters. Thank you.
I'm just going to do that this time. So thank you so much to Reed, Aubrey, and Eli. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Jade and Jensen from Hugh John McDonald, who received a $1,000 grant to design and build a teepee for their school. Please help me with welcoming Jade and Jensen.
What reconciliation means to us. For us, reconciliation means to reconnect with our roots and community, along with strengthening our bond with our culture. For some Indigenous people, reconciling may be hard because they might feel disconnected with their community and culture. They struggle with fitting in with things such as going to ceremonies, wearing traditional regalia, and having access to knowledge.
We attend Eagle Circle, which is the off-campus program of Hugh John McDonald School. Our classroom is in Rossbrook House, which is a community place where everyone is welcome after school and on weekends. Since we put up and take down our classroom every day, we as students always don't have ownership of the space.
When we held our Futures Fair, a day where Indigenous professionals came to Eagle Circle to talk about future job opportunities, we were struck by something a presenter said. The teepee is important to our culture because it represents teachings and symbolisms, and it made us think that understanding the teepee and its valuable teachings should be something that the students have access to on a daily basis.
We applied to Imagine Canada for funds that would allow us to design and build an indoor teepee that we could have in our classroom. Being able to have a teepee in our environment allows us to share our knowledge with each other and the community. It also allows us to celebrate who we are and our connection to each other and our culture.
The construction of a teepee involves ceremony as we honor the value of important teachings. For example, the tops of the poles point in all directions, reminding us that we all have different journeys. The teepee also teaches us that we all need something or someone to believe in, and that we are connected to everyone through spirit, no matter beliefs or values.
We used the funds from Imagine Canada to design and build a teepee in the Dakota Sioux style. We implemented math skills to calculate the area and perimeter of the material that we would need.
Cree, Star Nations, and Swan River did a rough cut on the birch trees for our poles, and the students sanded them down by hand.
We are now currently working on designs as we will be painting our teepee to reflect who we are as a class and what Eagle Circle means to us.
It is our hope that this teepee will help us share our knowledge with the community and allow for the students of Eagle Circle to practice putting up and taking down the teepee in a ceremonial way. Now we have a teepee that everyone has had a hand in making, and we are thankful to Imagine Canada for giving us the opportunity to celebrate who we are and where we come from. And then that's it.
Thank you so much, Jade and Jensen. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Tatiana and Harmony from St. Thomas High School, who received a $1,500 grant to erect permanent signs in public areas, signs that would have land acknowledgement and steps to become an ally to the Anishinaabe people of Kenora. Please help me with welcoming Tatiana and Harmony.
Bonjour, Jawa Skobana Sikh Indigenous Cause, Tatiana Sandy Kasprik, Atik Nindotem, Northwest Angle 33 Nindunji. I'm a grade 11 student at St. Thomas Aquinas High School, Kenora, Ontario, and a second generational residential school survivor. My nanan went to St. Mary's Residential School, and my baba went to Cecilia Jeffrey Residential School.
Bonjour, Kuwaitan Bene Sikh Indigenous Cause, Wawish Gishen Nindutem. My name is Harmony Osborne Redsky. I'm a grade 11 student at St. Thomas Aquinas High School. Some of the reasons for our project was because Kenora had two residential schools, St. Mary's and Cecilia Jeffrey, and is surrounded by many First Nations, but many people don't know about the schools, or they don't understand what went on at the schools. Or worse, some people minimize what happened and its effects.
The elders and residential school survivors have told us that we have to tell the truth and know the truth in order to heal, but many people don't know about Indigenous history. It's only starting to be told. We are learning about it, but we wanted to bring it to the streets of Kenora.
In 1966, Cheney Wenjack, an Ojibwe boy, tried to escape from the Cecilia Jeffrey Residential School on Round Lake, where he had been for 3 years. He was trying to get home to the Ogiki Post on the Martin Falls Reserve, 600 miles away. Cheney was walking along the railroad tracks to get home. It was late October, and Cheney was only wearing a light cotton jacket. After 36 hours, Cheney passed away near the tracks from exposure to the weather.
If Cheney had survived residential school, he would have celebrated his 70th birthday in January. He would have grown up to be a father and grandfather and would have been a residential school survivor, but his life was cut short. Cheney's death sparked controversy and resulted in an inquest. Although Indigenous children had been dying for over 100 years in residential school, schools across Canada, this was the first time an inquest was done. Schools began to be closed down, but it wasn't until 30 years later that the last residential school shut down.
We have formed an Indigenous Student Council at our school and wanted to educate the community about Indigenous people and our experiences, our history, and how this still affects us.
We have commemorated Cheney by placing permanent photos and excerpts from the graphic novel by Jeff Lemire along the trail near St. Thomas Aquinas to Garrow Park. This is a part of local history that many people don't know, and we have to keep telling people what happened so it doesn't ever happen again.
Elders from the Treaty 3 territory have recently added an 8th grandfather teaching, the teaching of forgiveness. This is unique to our area and is represented by a rock. Following the discovery of the mass graves at Kamloops Residential School and across the country, our elders received this teaching through ceremony. We cannot have real healing without forgiving others, our families, our leaders, and also ourselves.
Our project, Imagine a Canada Week. We started the student council for our students to have a voice and do the projects that we want in our school. We planned and put on the Imagine a Canada Week. We designed and painted a series of canvases about the 8 grandfather teachings. Since then, we have traveled to Winnipeg to see an all-Indigenous play called Bear Grease, participated in Truth and Reconciliations, walks in downtown Kenora, and Missing and Murdered Women and Girls 2 Spirit Plus walk.
Next week, our classes will walk to look at the signage about Cheney Wenjack, which is along the walking trail to Garrow Park and to the former Cecilia Jeffrey School site.
Our art installation. We have painted 8 canvases that depict the residential school experience and the 8 grandfather teachings of Treaty 3. We have incorporated the work of community beaders and student beadwork into the canvases. These will be installed in the foyer of our school.
This was our attempt to move forward towards truth and reconciliation. We have to continue to tell the truth, and we want to continue to do new things every year. Miigwech.
We'd like to thank our faculty, specifically Miss Barkley and Miss Sandy Kasprick, for not only organizing this week, but for guiding and supporting us. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Tatiana and Harmony. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Diva from Freedom School, who received a $1,000 grant for a cooking program with Indigenous chef Candice Ekwa. Please help me with welcoming to the stage Diva.
Hello, my name is Diva, and it is a pleasure to be working with the Imagine a Canada program. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, and Palmerston Public School. A bit about my project. For my Imagine a Canada project, I brought amazing First Nations chef Candice Eskimo First Nations from. Sorry, I'm gonna really pronounce this wrong. I'm not gonna even say it, but it's an island. To grade K to 6 school, Palmerston and Toronto. The grade 5s and 6s learned about the decolonization of most food systems. For examples, they made Three Sisters soup and learned about the origin. Three Sisters soup's origin is very important, and I think it should really be part of not only Ontario's curriculum, but a lot of other places. The reason I think that is because, not only because they need to learn about like Indigenous foods and stuff, but also because it's a much more deep way of explaining the importance of teamwork. Three Sisters soup contains 3 vegetables: squash, corn, and beans. And they work together to grow. And it's basically same way that humans work together in their growth. In my project, the kids get to learn in an interactive way, which I feel like is a lot more like deepening way. So like, it's not just like, yay, I learned this today, fun. But it's like, I actually got to make the thing instead of just knowing it. Anyways, I really do hope you guys liked my project, but thank you.
Thank you so much, Diva. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Feliz from Oak Bay High School, who received a $750 grant for hosting a workshop connected to an art piece used to facilitate a discussion about reconciliation. The art piece represents a drum and has been painted and features a collage of images that represent a vision of healing. Please help me with welcoming to the stage Feliz.
Ani buju kinawia. Feliz Nindishnakas Jaganashnamong. Minawa Minawewe Nindishnakas Nishnabemon. Adik Nindotum. Curve Lake in Alderville Nindunjaba. Laquangan Aking Ninlida Gego Nikakandanze. Hello, my name is Feliz Huitang Bermeo. I'm Anishinaabe from Curve Lake in Alderville. I am also Ecuadorian, German, and Irish. For my project, I really took Imagine a Canada quite literally. And so this is all made of old geographic magazines that were being thrown out at my school. And to me, that also represented throwing out history. And so I took those, and each province represents a different situation or a different area in Canada that I think needs healing. And so I have the sweetgrass painted around, and then beyond that is the night sky with the stars, because in our culture, in our traditions, we come from the stars, and when we die, we return to the stars. And so for my project, I created this, and then I printed it onto canvas, turned it into a drum, and then returned to my elementary school because I loved my elementary school. It was a safe place in a community. And I went into my younger cousin's class. From there, I made a discussion about reconciliation and how healing is the path that I think we should go down. And with that, I put it into a perspective where the students could connect reconciliation to their own lives. Because just reading about something or hearing it from a teacher, it's hard to take that information and directly connect it to yourself and how it applies to you. But if we think of reconciliation as a path of healing, we can directly connect that to ourselves and the path we walk on a daily basis. My name is Minna Weiwei, and today I'm stepping forward, walking the path of my name to be an older cousin, an auntie, and a community member. I grew up in Victoria, BC, and I had the privilege of learning from the Lekwungen people, the Kwakwakiwak people, the Esquimalt nations, and everything. And I would like to thank my mom, who worked hard to bring me into that community. And so I taught the class how to make medicine bundles. And with that, we used sweetgrass, buffalo sage, and devil's club bark. The sweetgrass represents my home territory of Ontario. The buffalo sage is from the prairie, as my aunt has shared many teachings with me. And then the devil's club represents BC, a community that has welcomed me, shared their knowledge, and has loved me. And I wanted to give that love back to the grade 5 students and teach them every act of kindness, every laugh, every hug, that's an act of reconciliation. That is an act of healing. And when we choose to heal, we choose to reconcile. My name is Minna Weiwei. This is my drum, this is my dream, and these are all the students that I taught signed with me so I could bring them here today. Thank you all for listening so much. I'm not done. Miigwech, Kleko, Haichkasiem. Thank you.
Thank you, Feliz. I'd now like to virtually welcome to our stage here today, Evelyn from the Columbia Valley Métis Association. And I've just asked if they're online, can you just request to speak? And then we will have you on our screen here. You just have to choose the request to speak option. But Evelyn had gone to the Columbia Valley Métis Association, and they had received a $1,250 grant for traditional food and medicine garden. I'm gonna give our tech team a few here. They're good? Alrighty, please help me with welcoming Evelyn.
My name is actually pronounced Evelyn, but thanks. So,
do you want to just pause for one moment? We're just making sure the volume, we can hear you inside here, okay? And I see our tech guys frantic in the corner there, so I know they're in their magic that I do not know and I do not have, but I know that our trusted tech team is on it. So just give us a few there, Evelyn. We do see you on the screen. We just cannot hear you at the moment. And folks, how about we just take this moment to applaud all the youth that have done all their presentations so far. I still think that I may be the most nervous and the most sweaty up here because these youth have just been phenomenal. I'm so impressed by all of you, and I'm so excited to hear the rest of them this afternoon.
looks like they're having troubles with audio.
Well, and usually when I'm put in situations like this, they ask me to tell some jokes, but I'm never that funny, so I don't think you'd want to hear any from me. I see Evelyn laughing at me on the screen, though, so I'm getting some chuckles in the room here. Can we do a test? Evelyn, can you test?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. All righty. Once again, folks, help me with welcoming Evelyn, who had...
Tanshi, Kai Evelyn Foster Dishnakashin, Invermere BC Dustin, N Oskinik Squiu Michifnia, Prudeni Parenti Kayash Ustinia. My chosen name is Kai and my given name is Evelyn Foster. I am a young Métis woman living in Invermere, BC on the traditional and shared territory of the Tanaha and Shakwetmach. My Métis heritage comes from the Prudent side of my family. My project is to build a traditional Indigenous food and medicine garden. I am planning an event to bring Indigenous elders, knowledge holders, and youth together to share and gather information and stories about traditional foods and medicine, and to decide what plants should go into the garden. We will also discuss what information should be shared with the public about those plants. I am working with support from local organizations and from my mom, who owns an Indigenous permaculture business, to find a place for the garden and design the garden. The whole community, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, will be invited to participate in preparing and planting the garden. This project will bring attention to the fact that the use of some of these medicines were banned for a period of time in our history. We will allow urban Indigenous people to access these medicines and some traditional food plants. My hope is that this garden will also be cared for by the settler community as a way of healing the relationship with the Indigenous people. I'm done.
Thank you so much. I love the virtual world we're in nowadays where we're able to do things like this. So thank you so much, Evelyn, for your presentation. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Sarah and Kylie from Westwood Collegiate, who received a $1,250 grant for Indigenous Voices in Sports, featuring a two-part evening focus on amplifying the voices of Indigenous athletes and youth. Please help me welcome to the stage.
Hi, my name is Sarah. And my name is Kylie.
Kylie and I are students at Westwood Collegiate, as well as members of the Westwood Historical Society, a student-led group dedicated to creating meaningful change in our school and community. Throughout our time as a group, we have focused on a number of different social issues, but in the last year, our main initiatives have centered around truth and reconciliation. This has included fundraisers for local organizations, the creation of a school gallery hall to educate students on the impact of the residential school system, hosting Indigenous guest speakers, as well as various Truth and Reconciliation Week programming. Using the momentum gathered from our previous endeavors, we wanted to continue advocating for Indigenous peoples in all spaces, including athletics. Our project submission for the Imagine a Canada program was an event titled Indigenous Voices in Sport, a night of listening and celebrating. The first portion of the event consisted of a Q&A panel discussion with local Indigenous athletes and knowledge keepers. This was followed by a film screening of the movie Indian Horse, which we believe to be an incredibly important film which tells a story familiar to many Indigenous athletes. Based on the book, Indian Horse follows the story of an Ojibwe boy, Saul, as he survives the residential school system and experiences a life of racism and discrimination as he pursues his love for hockey.
It's a two-part event focused on amplifying Indigenous voices and giving individuals a platform to share their story with high school athletes in our school division and beyond. Our guests included Carrera Lamoureux of the Manitoba Aboriginal Sports and Recreation Council, Jason Panto, an Indigenous educator, and Chickadee Richard, our school division elder. We are grateful to have knowledgeable individuals who are able to provide insight of their own issues as well as the ones we focused on primarily. Our goal was to use use sports as a pathway to reconciliation and educate high school athletes on the importance of inclusivity in athletics and in culture. We held the event in our school theater last week, and we had guests from Manitoba and Ontario attend. We were fortunate to have a supportive group of staff eager to help us succeed in our initiative, including our group advisor and humanities teacher, Kelly Hebert, our school's vice principal, Leah Jones, and our school's principal, Kevin Dewick, each of which have been integral parts of our success and oversaw most of our recent events, Indigenous Voices in Sports, a night of listening and celebrating. We are so grateful to be chosen as recipients for this grant and are so appreciative of what we are allowed to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah and Kylie. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Madison and Annabelle from Brand Hildeman Norfolk Catholic District School Board, who received a $1,000 grant for a large mural of the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address. Please help me in welcoming Madison and Annabelle.
Ready? Sego Seo Guego, Madison Youngets.
Annabelle Youngets.
Greetings to all of you. My name is Madison.
My name's Annabelle.
We're from Six Nations of the Grand River Territory, located south of Hamilton, Ontario.
So for our project, we are currently in the process of making a 3-piece mural that reflects the
Ohonogali Wadekwa, as we say in Mohawk.
And the Thanksgiving address. This is an integral part of who we are as Ongwahoe people. We recite this at the beginning and the closing of every ceremony or social gathering. We give thanks to every aspect of creation and thank them for continuously providing for us, starting with thanking everything on and near the ground and working our way up to thanking Shongwaya Diso, our creator.
We want to reflect this in our mural because we believe educating our non-Indigenous peers about who we are is crucial to reconciling our relationship with them. Especially since for decades, as you know, we weren't allowed to express ourselves through our language and cultural practices. So by creating this mural, we hope that the non-Indigenous students and staff within our board can learn about this huge, important part of our culture. We also hope that the Indigenous students within our board can strengthen their understanding of the Ohondo Galiwadekwa and pass it on to the next 7 generations.
Okay. Starting next year, the mural will have a spot for 3 months at each of the 3 high schools within our board: Assumption College, St. John's, and Holy Trinity. Then after that, it will circle within the elementary schools within the board so that the staff and students there will also have the same learning opportunity. As you can see in the picture behind us, we have completed the background, and in the next month, we will be adding animals, a tree in the center, people, various types of plant, and other elements of creation.
This was kind of a happy accident. Well, we have the Hiawatha belt across the canvas, but after deciding to outline it in white, we realized that it also looks a little bit like the Turo Wampum, which is a treaty between the Ongwe people and the non-Indigenous to live harmoniously side by side and to have 2 separate ways of life, paths that never cross. Overall, this mural doesn't only reflect the Thanksgiving address, but other parts of Haudenosaunee culture as well, like the clans, the Great Tree of Peace, and the Turo Wampum. Our hope is that students and staff alike will be asking questions about what it is reflecting and what it means for reconciliation. We can't wait to share this with all the students and staff within our board, and our greatest hope is that it can serve as an educational tool for all. Before I conclude, there's a couple people that I need to thank. I'd like to thank Golan Kiwage Doreen for sharing his knowledge of the Thanksgiving address with us. I'd like to thank Gully Wanolo, Aaron, and Kate. Some of them are seen in that picture there, for all of their creativity and their artistic abilities who made this mural what it is today. And I'd also like to thank Miss Sandra Braga, who is in the audience over there, for all of her hard work, because without her, this wouldn't have been possible. Nyawa.
Thank you so much, Madison and Annabelle. Well, folks, last but certainly not least, I'd like to welcome to the stage Jade Majori, Ayla, Connor, and Jay from Wellington School, who received a $750 grant for a reconciliation garden that includes medicinal plants. Please help me with welcoming to the stage Jade, Ayla, Connor, and Jay.
Hello? Wait. Hello? Okay. Hi, I'm Jayla Valley Constant. We will be doing a presentation about our reconciliation garden. This is Connor McGilver, Elia Buckley, and Jade Marjorie Alito. We are grade 5 and 6 students from Wellington School on Treaty 1 territory here in Winnipeg. And we are going to talk about reconciliation garden.
For our reconciliation garden, we first learned how to garden and grew our own food over the winter in our classroom. This spring, we built a garden bed and cleared out invasive plants in order to plant native species. We are growing plants that are native here to help pollinators and insects to build a relationship with the land and to pass the knowledge down to the younger students. We want to do it for the younger people to learn how to use the plants as medicines for smudging and teas, and to learn about why native species are so important to our habitat.
We learned what seeds to plant from books written by Indigenous authors as well as teachings with our elder Audrey. We found a lot of them. After we chose the native plants we wanted to grow, we researched about them and learned their traditional names and uses. Native plants are important because bees and insects know how to use them and handle them. When we have healthy pollinators, we have a healthy habitat. We are learning how First Peoples have used these plants for many generations.
Our project relates to reconciliation because we are building a relationship with the land, learning from elders and community members, helping to teach people, and passing the knowledge down to younger students, all while working together. We are all connected to the land. There is no us without the land, and we are learning how we can help the land in return. Thank you to the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation for allowing us this opportunity.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Jade, Majori, Ella, and Connor, and Jay. And thank you to all the youth who received a reconciliation micro grant and who have shared with us today the work that they've done to advance reconciliation in their schools and in their communities. It is our hope that everyone who has attended today's celebration will reflect on the work and the words that were shared by our youth, and they're inspired by our future leaders of tomorrow. We look to our leaders today and ask that they continue to support and work that has already begun to support youth's reconciliation initiatives from coast to coast to coast. I would like to ask the Spirit Horse Youth Drum Group to sing an honor song for all the youth who participated today in person and for those attending virtually. Folks, it has been an inspiring few hours. However, we've now come to an end of the Imagine a Canada National Celebration. On behalf of the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation, I would like to thank all of the youth, educators, mentors, parents, guardians, friends, survivors, and elders for joining us today to support these amazing youth. I would also like to reiterate our thanks to the Imagine a Canada presenting sponsor. This program was made possible through the funding from the presenting sponsor of IG Wealth Management and the support of the Power Corporations of Canada. Thank you to all of our audience today, both in person and watching virtually. And remember to share the links with the program for the NCTR YouTube page. Please stay tuned for news about the launch of the 24-25 Imagine a Canada program for the Truth and Reconciliation Week this upcoming September. I'm going to add one little closing comment in here quick. We kept talking about our youth being the future leaders of tomorrow, but I just want to say, standing in this room with you all today, our leaders are here. You are making change in your communities and you are doing phenomenal and amazing things. So I once again want to say thank you, merci, merci, and miigwech. This is the end of our broadcast. So just before we run, we have concluded the streamed portion of today's Imagine a Canada National Celebration. However, we're not fully done just yet for those in the room. Before we pause to take our photos and to move to the MTC classroom for the reception, I would like to ask all of our youth and members of the audience, as best as we can, to gather in a large circle and participate in a round dance to honor and to celebrate all of your hard work and the work that you've done. Once in a circle, we will join hands, and when the drumming begins, we will step to our left and bring our right foot to meet where our left and follow to the beat of our drum. So if we can form our circle. And just lastly, one last time before we begin our round dance here, for all the youth afterwards who had come onto this stage, please gather at the front after the round dance for a photo, but after the round dance, please form the circle first. We may have to do like 2 circles if we're not able to fully form the room, or as best as we can, folks.
Y'all step towards your left foot and then right, left and then right. Right on. This is a friendship dance, and it's to honor our friendship, honor all the young ones that have given their truth and spoke their truth here today. I want to acknowledge our ancestors and our people who came forward and spoke the truth first. Without their truth, we wouldn't have truth and reconciliation, and we would not have the NCTR today, but it was people that had the courage to come forth and step forward and tell their truth. And here we stand and we dance in honor of that, in honor of the friendship that will be created through truth and reconciliation. I think they're going to do 4 push-ups here. I think we're on the 3rd push-up now. When the next checkmate comes, everybody go woo woo woo! Aho! Chumigwech, chumigwech.
Thank you once again, folks. So lastly here, we would just like the youth who came on stage today to just gather at the front for a group photo. We will then take the individual pictures from the stage. For the youth who must depart due to travel, we will invite you to the stage first here before we start the lunch. And then after the photos have been taken, guests are welcome to move to the MTS classroom for a light reception of sandwiches and soup. Please ensure that our